we really weren't making money off of it. It wasn't a career. It was like, we don't really love this, like, what do we really want to do with our content? I was just like, I'm gonna just be myself on my videos. I've always been. This feels like my calling. It feels like, especially because we have been, I don't want to say criminalized, but we have been pointed at for so long in the past years, and I don't think we have been pointed at for the right reasons. Like, if you can figure out a way to think outside the mold and be bold and be like, different in your own way, I feel like you should go for it always.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Storytellers, a show about real people, real stories, and real impact. And I'm here with Sebastian Garcia. He's a social media influencer, and he's been doing this for maybe 10 plus years or 10 years, pretty much when this whole influencing thing started to happen. So how are you doing, man? What's up?
Great, Chris. Thank you for having me. Longtime friend of not only my channel where everything started, but also my family and friends for a very long time now. So yeah, 13 years creating content. Recently we did all the math and it was like mind blowing for us. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's a blessing for me to be here. Excited to have this deep conversations with you. I've seen your channel. If people haven't seen it yet, they should. It's amazing. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, so a lot of people forget that this social media thing, it's so invasive in our lives and it's been with us every single day. Like, we can't get away from it. We switched from pretty much, you had to be a celebrity, right, on TV to be a person online. And you were one of the first people that I ever saw a long time, like you said, 13 years ago. And you pretty much caught the trend right when it started. So tell me how, before we get to your backstory, tell me how the kind of that role of social media influencer has evolved in the last 13 years.
Heavily. It has changed a lot since we started. It was, I want to say, from the monetizing way, it changed a lot. Before, when I started, when I was 16 years old, um, no one could monetize from it, or very few people were monetizing from it. And then it came to a now era, 13 years after, where anyone can monetize any type of content they create. So that has, impacted the influencing world and the content creation world in a huge way. Because, we see now kids want to be content creators when they grow up. And, a lot of these careers that were sometimes dreamed of like for kids, are now like a little on a side. You barely like hear kids want to be doctors and they want to be, astronauts and this huge careers when we were growing up. That when influencing and social media and that, like you said, when we were kids and before, 13, 15, 20 years ago, we wanted to be like the most wild you could be was like an actor or an actress, and that was already like completely outside of the norm. So now just creating content and being out there is for everyone that has a cell phone, and that's a lot of people in the world, and not only where we live, but just on the other side of the earth, where people are able to also see your content. And it amazes me that sometimes I get comments. It's not very often, but sometimes I get comments from people like Hispanics that watch my content, and they are, in Malaysia and they are in Iran. So it's like very like oddly satisfying in a way, but also it's a lot of responsibility. Like you're putting yourself out there and you're putting this content to the world, and now it's so immediate for everyone compared to 20 years ago, where not everyone had a phone, not everyone had a computer at their houses, not everyone had a TV. So where the news were coming out, you would see it on a newspaper the day after, or you would see it on the TV maybe that night of the thing happening. So I think just how quick everything is changed a lot, and just the access that people have to phones.
So when I met you, before I met you personally, when I met you online, I met you through Instagram, right? Through Garcia TV, which is the same channel you have now. Did you start
So
in Vine
no, the
before?
first video we actually posted when we were making videos, my brother and myself, it was on Instagram. And then we went into Vine just because we always believed in more time and Vine was very, very short. Can you hear me? You're good, right? So Vine was very, very short. And then we also like we liked Instagram a lot. We were on that most of the time. We did some Vine and then we did some YouTube too. But I think Instagram has always been like our go-to.
Got it. And then, so at that time when you started in Instagram, I remember the kind of most viral content that was going on. It was skits, right? So as soon as you go into your Instagram, they're gonna know like you're funny as hell, right? You started first with your brother, and then were you like a comedian? I mean, you're a funny person, but were you like funny at school, like in acting, or did you do this for the first time in Instagram?
I think I was out there, like I was always outgoing and I was always willing to, I don't want to say like make a fool of myself because that really isn't like the wording, but I wasn't afraid or ashamed of doing it, like I was okay with just singing at my, I don't know, my chorus for my school, or I was like being in every talent show doing whatever it was, singing or dancing or whatever. So I was always like out there, and I want to say I always had that sense of humor. Like in my life, I think my family in general, like my brother, uh, with who I first started recording videos, and then my dad, my uncles, have always been like very. They had a very like sharp sense of humor, so I think I adapted all that into myself. So yeah, I want to say that's kind of like how it went when I was starting. Like I was just willing to be out there, and I wasn't really caring about what other people thought about what I was doing. So I think that helped a lot.
Essentially, you're still the same person online, but how has the type of content that you make changed? So if you can take us kind of like what you were doing in the beginning, like what is it that you thought people wanted versus kind of what you do now?
We really weren't making money off of it. It wasn't a career. And also, we were kind of like forced into, if we don't make this specific type of content, we're not really like, our videos are not really hitting in the community. We were like the first ones to put like a wig into it. And then just transitioning into what I do now, it took a lot of years. It took a lot of time of the account just being there sitting. And we tried, creating different things after we like stopped. So we then went into an era of us making music, which is when we met. So we were like, okay, let's do something that we really enjoy. We enjoy making music, but we also had that comedic style into the music. So we created this characters, which you know very closely, but we created the characters of traperos, which was like a play on words on trap singers, and also like people that use trapos to clean and clean houses, wash dishes, whatever. So we created that double entendre on those characters. We had a lot of fun while doing it, but then also it was like we don't really love this, like what do we really want to do with our content? And then again, we stopped for a while. We tried again, and we have tried different styles. Me and my brother. Then he tried by himself, and now it came to 2025 where I was like, well, this account is just sitting here for the past year and a half, 2 years. No one has been touching it. There's an audience there that somehow recognizes our faces and recognizes who we are for what we did in the past. What if I just do what I love, which is sports, and turn my own style into it, and not make it boring, or not making something incredibly forced, or something that I'm really trying to get famous from, or just get this um cloud from, if you want to call it that. I was just like, I'm gonna just be myself on my videos, like I've always been, and I'm gonna try my best to incorporate sports into it. And that's how Garcia TV has now evolved into this in the last, I want to say, what, 6 to 7 months. Um, we were thinking about it. My wife and I, we hold a very close relationship, and we were like, this feels like my calling. It feels like my purpose. I was like, yes, because I've been trying to do this for so long, and the one thing that I've never really let go of was sports. Like I would always watch games, and we've discussed this in the past too. Like we are fans of the same teams, and every time we see each other, we're talking about the games and how everything went. So my wife at some point was like, "Well, if you're doing this all day and you're watching games, so why don't you start creating videos about it?" And it all came around, and it came to a reality to what it is now, which is me trying to inspire the youth and into going into sports and going into what they love. and then also me being like a huge advocate for sports in the Hispanic and Latin community in general. So yeah, all the projects that we have done in the past 7 months and what we're doing in the future too coming up is like with that in mind and with that purpose of, let's support an athlete that is from our countries, not necessarily Venezuela where I'm from, but Colombian athletes, Ecuadorian, just people from South America, Central America, even North American athletes. But we definitely want to focus more into like our Hispanic and Latin speaking athletes, especially because we have been, I don't want to say criminalized, but we have been pointed at for so long in the past years, and I don't think we have been pointed at for the right reasons. There's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of hardworking people out there that aren't really being recognized for what they are. So I think my platform is now, and I'm trying to work into that, and I'm trying for people to see that this is what we're doing. We're trying to support these athletes and show who they are. They're also very human, even though they don't look like it when you see them on TV and, making these amazing plays and being sometimes the athletes that everyone dreamt of, when they were growing up, that, oh, I want to be a soccer player, I wanted to be a football, baseball player. And then they see these people on TV and they're like, wow, these guys are supernatural, which they are, but they're also very close to us and they're also very close to what we do on our daily basis regarding, having kids, having a family, having something to work for, finding a purpose, and, having dreams. They also have it. And, a lot of these guys
Yeah.
have a 10-year career and then they have a whole life ahead of them, and they're just like us, even though they retire and they were professional baseball, basketball, soccer, whatever players.
So talk to us about what it's like reaching out to the teams, like reaching out to the players, and how
So
did
it,
that
it it
start?
started. I guess I had a little bit of an advantage, if you want to call it that, just because I was making videos for a long time, and I came to a realization when I started this sports thing that a lot of these players were watching me when I was making videos. So when I was making comedy videos and skits, so a lot of them followed me from before, and a lot of them just, like I mentioned, they just knew my face from somewhere, and they've seen me working, with other athletes too. So they're like, oh yeah, I've seen this guy, and yeah, that has been a blessing, just contacting them directly, players when I say, or athletes. Contacting teams has always been a little different, just because, like you mentioned, they're very protective of their athletes and their talent, which is completely understandable. I want to say it's a little different when I come around, not because I'm special, but it's just because I'm not a journalist. I'm not there to, gather information and then, yeah, right. I'm not there to,
Antagonize them. You're not there
be
to like,
like
yeah.
play, hide and seek and going and asking them stuff and then cutting it to make it sound like something else, which a lot of journalists do. So, and that's why I feel like teams have created this barrier around, content creation, just because journalists are now coming into this era of content creation, where they still have their own profession and career in being journalists. So they have that nature of, looking for the title and looking for what he said and taking it out of context. And I'm not pointing any fingers, but that's just part of the career of journalism. A lot of them are great and they look for the truth and they look for transparency. And I love that. But a lot of them are also very sneaky, and they go into interviews and into conversations with people looking for what's gonna sell whenever they come out with the story, or what's gonna sell on their post, on their reel. On my side, I'm more into the interaction with the player. I'm more into the player feeling like I'm a friend, even though a lot of the times I'm not. I try to make them feel in a comfortable place, where they're talking to me. I'm also not looking for stats or how do they feel after a game or how do they feel coming into this tournament that's coming up. Um, Very rarely you'll see me asking these type of questions, and a lot of these teams are seeing that in my content and they're opening their doors to me just because I'm just looking for the human side of the player and I'm looking to make a connection. A lot of them, like I mentioned, are Hispanic. A lot of them are Venezuelan, where I'm from. So that's usually where their connection is at. Like, oh, where did you grow up? And oh, bro, I don't know, I was born in Valencia, and I would go to Valencia every other weekend to see my family. So it's like, just connecting with the human side of the player, and really not caring about the part of the athlete. It's more about the connection with them, and having a fun time. And a lot of these players, I want to say 90% of them, we still hold conversations over like Instagram DMs or over like WhatsApp, or whenever like a lot of these players won their um baseball World Cup or baseball classic this past week. And yeah, I DM'd a lot of them that I knew, and some of them that I didn't. And a lot of them were like, bro, thank you so much for being there. I was there the whole 7 days. I think we spoke about it. There's like 40 pieces of content in a round of 9 days, which is completely
Yeah,
crazy, by just being myself, not
crazy.
having like a full
Yeah.
blown team creating content with me, even though I'm blessed with like a great team of editors and, people that have great ideas. I'm there executing all this piece of content and creating the best that we could create for the audience and for the people that are looking for this type of entertainment. So yeah, I think like that's really the big difference when connecting with players and teams directly. It's just that, what we do is very different to what's out there.
Yeah, funny that you brought up the whole journalism aspect, because that's kind of how you found yourself in where you're at now, right? Because I kind of want to get deep into your journey, because you were super successful in the beginning, because you were one of the first few people that started in social media. You were doing the whole skits with the wig, like very relatable, like it popped. And then there's a moment where you
Yes.
stopped, right? You kind of took a break, and then you went into journalism. So if you can just kind of take us to the break, like how come, what made you stop, like, and how long was that gap, and what are some of the things that like you were going through, because a lot of people think that this stuff is like easy, glamorous, like it's
No.
easy to be funny. I mean, I guess for you it's easy, right? But it's okay. Yeah, you see, it's not. So, like, tell us about like kind of like the grind of that, and what's the reality, some of the harsh realities that you went through.
Let me just understand what you're asking. So the question would be, what was like the transition into me trying journalism and now where I'm at? Yeah, so I mean, I went from content creation, comedy, to knowing that I was very into sports and trying to go into journalism without having a career, which was really like the make or break for me. Like, I was sometimes not accepted into the journalism field because I really wasn't a journalist, and I wasn't trained into a lot of the ways that these people are used to working. So I think that was kind of like the break for me, kind of like what made it very um clear to me that I wasn't built for that. And I don't want to say I wasn't built for that, but I wasn't prepared for that in general. So it just wasn't what I was used to doing. And I figured out with being there that it was also something that I didn't want to do. It was just something I was forcing myself to do because I liked sports in general. But like everything in life, if you like to cook, that does not mean that you have to work at a Michelin star restaurant for you to cook. You could have your own food truck, right? You could work for a regular Olive Garden. Like, you could cook at your house and sell by delivery. So there's so many options and ways for you to do what you love, as long as you're like very passionate about it. It might be, let me go wash dishes at this restaurant while I save money to come into the food truck world. So for me, I think it was that. What really made it was that the content that I create when I'm a fan is something, it's content that I love. It's content that I'm passionate about. I love the connection with people, and I love the connection to athletes as a fan, even though a lot of them see me as a little bit more than a fan, and a little bit less than a journalist. So I'm like right in the middle. This what I call my sweet spot. I'm like, okay, I'm a huge fan of these athletes. I'm a huge fan of these teams, huge fan of the sport, but I'm not gonna go in there and pretend I, work for ESPN and I'm doing all this analytics and all that, because I'm not that, and I'm not really into that in general. If you ask me how the game was, I'll be like, Well, it was great. You know, there was a lot of possession. I loved. Oh, and what was the number in the possession? Was it 54? I don't know, and I don't really care. Like I want to watch a great soccer
Yeah.
game. I want to watch a great baseball game. I want to see some games that are like dominated by pitchers where there's not a lot of runs. I want to see some games that are like there's a lot of runs in them. So I think that's also the beauty of the sport, and that's also the beauty of doing what you love. So you sometimes get great experiences, and sometimes you're like, well, this game wasn't really that good, but I'm glad I was here anyways, you know.
Yeah, one of the things that you told me a couple of days ago that I really liked, that I was like, oh wow, that was like kind of like your turning point, uh, where you went to a game in Houston in the
Yes.
MLS, and then you saw Heung-min Song, and you wanted to kind of like humanize him, do like a video that it's not even controversial. You were just like saying, hey, what's up? I don't know, I forget what you said.
What happened was that I was in the mixed zone, zona mixta, what we called it in journalism. So people and players and part of the staff go into their locker rooms and out of the locker rooms to go to the bus. And we were there waiting for, you know, I was in the Houston Dynamo stadium, and LAFC was visiting. LAFC has, you know, Hugo Lloris, the champion of the world, Heung-min Son, this and that, whole lot of players. So a lot of the journalists were on that side of the zona mixta part, you know. So we went in there, and a lot of players come by the first time whenever they're going into the locker. So I was like, bro, like this is my chance to, you know, like interact with some of these players, which for me, that's really my only goal when I go out there and create content. Is like, okay, let's interact with fans, like, interact with players, and make this a fun experience for everyone watching my account. So I created a little video where I, you know, stop Hyunmin Sung and I go like, hey, bro, can I take a picture with you? I'm a huge fan. He goes, yeah, bro, of course. I do a video of me and him, which wasn't really a picture, but I wanted to have a video instead of a picture. So I record a video. I just turn my cell phone
Yeah.
around, and that's it. Call it a day. Before I did that, I asked the person that was standing there with an MLS shirt, with the league shirt, and I said, "Listen, is it okay if I stop some of them and just like ask for a picture or an interaction for my video?" And he said, "Yeah, of course. Like, I don't see any issue with that." Long story short, 3 days after, the people that credentialed me kind of like stopped me and said like, "Hey, you're not supposed to do this, and that," which I was never told that, you know, like it was my first time covering MLS outside of
Yeah.
Orlando, which we really never had the opportunity of meeting the player itself in that specific scenario. That was really like not aware of how it worked, and I wasn't really caught into the attention of it. So that's why I asked. I'm like, is it's okay to do it? They said yes, and then 3 days after, I don't want to say like they gave me like an issue with it. They just say, "Hey, you couldn't do this. Let's just delete this video and let's just move on." Like there was no issue, and yeah, you know, I deleted the video. Unfortunately, it was like a video that I still have on my phone, and it's gonna be great, and it's a memory that I'll keep forever. Because it's a player that I used to like watch a lot in the Premier League with Tottenham, so it's just a huge player in general. But you know, I'll take all responsibility. I deleted the video. You know, I apologize to the team that credentialed me. But then I'm also like at that point I'm like, bro, I do not want to be put in this situation again where I don't know exactly what the boundaries are, or even if or now that I know what the boundaries are, I'm sure I don't want to be in this situation again where I find myself in front of a World Cup champion, in front of Heung-min Son, or you know, these amazing players with a huge opportunity for me to create some content and not being able to do so. I think on my side was like I'd rather just not have the opportunity in general, you know, like if I can do what I want, I'd rather just not be there at the moment. And I feel like I could potentially at some point in the future find myself in that situation again with the ability of doing what I really want to do and just being myself for my content. So yeah, it was kind of like not the right place, not the right time to do it. And I believe if I just keep going with the credentialing route into succeeding, I just will burn myself out. So I was like, you know what? I'll just not go into the journalism side of it and just focus on the content that I do and these opportunities are gonna, come back eventually, looking way different for me.
Yeah, and it's crazy how that happened because like to get credentialed and to go to a game and be in the press
For
box,
sure.
like that's a huge blessing. And a lot of people want to be in that situation, but the fact that they kind of denied you, right? And they had the right to do that. The fact that they denied you to like humanize the player, because obviously that's not the role of a journalist at that
Yes.
moment, right? Their job is to like be descriptive, not prescriptive. So the fact that they denied you that, it kind of made you click like, oh wait, hold on. Like it awakened something in you that you were like, oh no, what I actually want to do is to exalt the player. So I think that's like a weird, like once in a lifetime moment where it's like, okay, like even though you were not at the right place at the right time, like you said, you were still kind of at the right place and at the right time because that's where that happened. And you were probably either taking longer to realize that
It was
or it would
crazy
have
because
maybe not
you
happened.
say it that way, and that's 100% my purpose when I did the video. It was like, let me just show the people how cool Human Son is, and he's really stopping for people that are, fans. And it's crazy because I had prepared a whole video of a lot of South Korean fans that were in the stadium wearing Son shirt and just Korean shirts in general. So I would stop them and be like, hey, give me a message to Human Son because I want to show him this video. So I stopped him, and then at some point I was like, you know what? I won't show him the video because I don't see anyone stopping him. Like I don't want to be like extra. So I was like, I just stopped him for the picture, and then when he came back out, I didn't. I was just like, I'll just let it go because maybe like other people want to have that opportunity. A lot of people asked him questions, and they went with their days with it. I never showed him the video, but yeah, it was definitely me being more like, bro, I want to show how this guy is, a human, and this guy's just one of us. I want to take it the way you said it, though. It's the right place to figure out that, this is not the right calling for me or the right place for me to be at the moment. And then, yeah, if I put it into perspective, it's like, is the right time to figure it out where, it's not like a big punishment, and it's not like something bigger of me being blacked out or blacklisted out of, the whole league just because I was breaking the rules repeatedly. And then at the 10th
Right.
game was when they figured it out. So I'm happy that it went that way. Honestly, it helped me a lot into understanding what I want to do. But, it was also a little bit sour on my side, just having someone like, bro, you're not supposed to do this. I was like very like ashamed, like I felt sorry for them because that also puts their brand into, a lot of it puts them in a spotlight, bro. You sent this guy that, is breaking the rules out here. So yeah, I kind of feel sorry for the guys. Um, I apologized to them, and I was like truly honest when I did. But time comes around, and eventually we'll find a way to work together if it's possible. And if not, bro, I would like very grateful with the opportunity that they gave me.
We just finished the baseball classic, right? Like the World Cup for baseball. Talk to me about that experience. How it was being there with the fans, and what were some of the messages you were getting from the people that were watching your
First
content?
of all, it's the biggest event I've been a part of since I started creating content. And I want to say in general. So I've been to a couple of games that have meant a lot to me. Like my first game in Madrid in the Bernabeu, I think was kind of like pinnacle in my life. It was something I've always dreamt of. But this sporting event in general, the whole 7 games I went to in those 12 days, were like top of the line of like sporting events experiences, fan experience. Yeah, it's just in general, it was crazy. Um, it was a vibe that I've never had in a baseball stadium in the world. I don't want to say soccer stadium because it's very different. So I want to compare apples to apples. So baseball stadium is my first time being um in that type of environment, regardless if I was Venezuelan or not. I want to say a lot of the people that saw my content that aren't Venezuelan were like, this is crazy. Like, you see a lot of US content creators, a lot of Dominican content creators are like, bro, something like we have never experienced. Even some of the players were saying, bro, in World Series, in MLB, we never saw this type of fans in stadiums. And we're talking about, World Baseball Classic is kind of like the World Cup for baseball. And it's just incredible, bro. Like a lot of a lot of Venezuelans around, a lot of Dominicans, a lot of Americans in the stadiums. So yeah, just being a part of it and just being able to be there felt like a huge blessing. It felt also like, reassuring for myself that I'm in the right place where I want to be, just being in the stands, surrounded by fans, and then here and there getting some acknowledgement from players. I was blessed enough to collaborate with one of the biggest players in the Venezuelan team, and being also acknowledged by a lot of the players while I was there. When they would like see me, they were like, "Hey, bro, like we love your content. Like it's amazing what you're doing." And then on the fan side and on the follower side, a lot of people just commenting on my videos like, "Bro, it's crazy that I'm watching this game here at my house, and 2 minutes after a home run or a hit or just an exciting moment in the game, I see your video and I see your reaction. It's like incredibly quick. We're like super dialed into the content, and that also helped me like, bro, this is what I'm in for. Like I want people to feel that they are in the stadium, in the field with me, and have people just connect with my reaction and how I feel the game. Felt like a blessing. A lot of people
Yeah.
are like, "Bro, we love how you enjoy the game of baseball. We love how you enjoy." I recently went to Argentina. I did 5 games in 7 days in the Argentinian soccer league, and it was like, bro, I felt like I was there with you. I felt like I was inside of the Moneda, inside of the Monumental. So it was just very, very refreshing for me, and it was also like very, like accomplished. It was a huge accomplishment for me in general.
How did you know that type of content was gonna have an appetite?
I've always said it, and I feel it now when I'm creating my content. It's like if I make you feel a way, and the way I create my content, I'm trying to make people feel good and feel happy and feel excited. A lot of people don't. A lot of people feel, angered because they're not where I'm at, or jealous because they're not where I'm at, and they have negative remarks on my on my content, or comments on my content. But I focus on the nice things, and I focus on people saying, bro, we love this video and this video is great. And a lot of people, commenting fire emojis and, just excited about the moment. Just, bro, seeing my feed flooded with Venezuelan flags whenever a Venezuelan player would hit a hit or a home run. So, yeah, I want to say like the way I felt was like, listen, I want to connect with people. I want to create that connection. I don't, like I said before, I don't feel like stats and you know, game results and giving my breakdown of the game connects with people in general, just because I'm not that type of person. I feel like the
Right,
connection
right,
comes
right.
with like,
Yep.
bro, this just happened. Look at the stadium. Look at me going crazy with this that happened. And I feel people connected with that. And I had a hunch that that was going to be what really people wanted to see. And, and yeah, I feel like whenever creators or people in general have their own jobs are like, bro, I feel like this is going to work, and, you're not harming anyone, and you're not putting yourself in danger. I feel like you should go for it, like just try it. Worst thing that could happen is that you're in the same spot where no one's watching your videos. So like if you can figure out a way to think
Yeah.
outside the mold and be like be bold and be like, different in your own way, I feel like you should go for it always.
Yeah, definitely your videos have a sense of FOMO. Like I'm watching it and I
That's
could
awesome,
tell that
bro.
I'm like, oh man, I wish I was there. Or like, oh, he got to see that live. Like that's crazy. So for you, like you will take any day being at the stadium than watching it on TV.
Some games of less interest that depending on where you're seating, the moment of the game could be perceived better. But when you take the ambience and the audience and the songs and the singing and the screaming and the emotion of the people around you, and you take that in, there's no way like you can compare, no matter where you're sitting in the stadium, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to go to the NBA game because it's very expensive, and whenever I'm able to buy tickets, I'm sitting all the way in the rafters. I'm like, bro, I get it, but the emotion that you feel, even though you don't see the game as good as in your TV, while eating your favorite foods without spending $100 on hot dogs and popcorn, and the ticket is like I feel like the pain, but I'm also like you just can't get the same experience while you're being at home.
Do you get the same feeling when you go to concerts, or is
I
it just
am
sports?
a big concert hater. Like I don't want to say I'm a hater. Let me just rephrase that. I don't hate concerts.
That's
Yeah, okay, we can
hilarious.
stick with that.
No, you hate it. We're sticking with
I
that.
don't love concerts,
I don't like
especially
concerts either that
because
much.
nowadays, and I want to say there are some exceptions, but I'm a big fan of the music itself. And I feel like concerts right now is like a DJ and someone singing. So I really enjoy when the concerts are with the band or they're like live music. And it also depends on the artist. Like if I really love the artist, which aren't really many that I love, I like a lot of them, but I don't love a lot of them. So yeah, no, go get dressed, spend $100 a pop. Because when I go to concerts, I go with my wife. That's kind of like the benefit when I go to sports events. My wife doesn't want to come. Not saying that I hate my wife, but it's just my wife doesn't want to be at a stadium watching a game five
Yeah, yeah.
five times a week, like
Same,
when I go and
same. My
travel,
wife does it.
like if I'm going, which this could be a
Yeah.
good break in news for you. I'm going to Europe in about 2 weeks,
Mm.
and I'm gonna be there for 12 days, and I'm gonna watch 8 games. My wife would hate me if I take her with me, just because I won't have time for her. Because every time like I'm off the field, I'm editing or I'm planning what I'm gonna do, or am I recording videos for my next day. It's like I'm working, it's very different. When I go to concerts, I love going with my wife to the concerts that she likes, and I enjoy like her presence, but I don't enjoy the concert itself. It's like, bro, I just don't want to be this close to people in general. And and yeah, I already like sacrificed my quote of being that close to people on sporting events. So yeah, when I go to concerts, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. And yeah, that the band not being live kills it a lot for me. So recently, the ones that I've gone to are like real music being played
Yeah.
and people that can actually sing, like contrary to a lot of the artists now.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way with a lot of stuff. Like, I'm kind of a buzzkill with things like that because it's like I can't ignore that they're not playing live. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like this is, o sea, put it in a
Yeah,
speaker
or
in a
better.
Bluetooth speaker for my home, and it's gonna sound the
Yeah.
same. You know what I mean? Or better. So I completely understand that. But yeah, sports is definitely different. So I wanted to ask you about the MLS, right? Because you're not just into the experience of going there and like you have fun. It's like you actually love sports. Like you watch multiple sports. Like I watch soccer and like that's it. And I don't have the bandwidth to follow more. But you actually love it. So what do you think the MLS has to do? Because you're also like a marketing, for me, like a marketing genius. So what is it that the MLS has to do to kind of be on par with the other leagues like MLB, NBA? Because do you think it's just because they don't have like enough commercial breaks? Like that's always like a theory. Is that really like legit?
Said this, I want to say 5 years ago, give or take. And I said, let's give this league 10, 15 years and they'll figure it out. So there's one thing that I always put as an example when speaking about the MLS, and it is look at all major sports in the world, right? If you look at, I don't know which one are your major sports, but for me, soccer number one. Then you could go into basketball. Then you could go into baseball. Then you could go maybe into, yeah, if you count cricket, but I don't, just because that's played in the India and all these countries that it's popular because there's a lot of people here, not because it's worldwide popular. Yeah, just
Yeah,
India,
like
England, they play a lot of
India,
cricket
yeah,
too, but
India, yeah,
Pakistan, all these
England,
Asian countries,
yeah.
and it's popular because there's a lot of people there, but it's not because people in South America are watching cricket. It's like very different. But let's say top five leagues in the world out of the some of the major sports are based in the US. If you go and watch NBA, the top league in the world is the NBA
Hmm.
of basketball. Like everyone that plays, there's a great Euro League and there's a lot
Yeah.
of competition in Spanish League and the Greek League, but all these players dream of coming to the NBA. Why? Because there's money involved and because there's a pedestal. You're like, bro, You make it to the NBA, you made it into your sport. And I feel it's the same way with baseball. Like baseball, real baseball is played in the MLB in the whole season. Football, American football, of course, is based here, but the NFL is the top of the line. People that play football around the world want to play in the NFL. If you go to basically every sport, if you do Formula One, there's now two, I think, three circuits being raced in Formula One. Probably one of the countries, if not the country with the most races. Yeah, even golf, you see
Even
PGA
even
Tour
golf,
that's
like
mainly played in the U.S. or
yeah,
all in the
here,
U.S.
yeah,
Like all the sporting events eventually turn up into the US. Why? One, money, 100%. There's just more capital to be invested into this money. You see all these soccer leagues trying to come into the US. We've seen it in the past 10 years. They do all of their preseasons and summer here. Why? Because the money's here. A lot of the England fans spend a lot of money on their season tickets. So whenever they go into a preseason, they're like, bro, I'm not spending $150 per ticket just to watch you on a preseason game where we'll see a lot of the youngsters playing and not the real players playing. In the US, they're like, bro, whoever comes here, we're gonna go watch. Like it's gonna be fun. You see all the sporting events coming into the US. You saw it with now the World Baseball Classic. It's been repeated here a long time. You see the World Cup coming into US, Copa America coming into the US. Like everything, the
yeah,
Club World Cup last year coming into the US. It's like, bro, everything is coming here for a reason. And I think that also has to do with the development of MLS. And for me, the one thing that really hasn't clicked for them is making it fair for everyone. And I think they have been working on that a lot. When MLS first started, it was two or three players coming from Europe into the league and being at two or three teams. You saw it with Beckham going into LA Galaxy. You saw it with Henry going into New York Red Bull. That like eventually you saw two or three teams having this amazing stars. Now it has come to a point where owners are like, right, it makes sense that we're having these stars are coming into our teams and not into someone else's teams because it's making them money. Like you saw with the big boom of the MLS that happened in the past 3 years, which was Messi coming into Inter Miami, and that's when
yeah,
Messi came. I'm like, it's starting. Like this is our boiling point, and I think it came with the whole league being like, okay, what happened? Like Inter Miami, they're champions. Every time they go into their stadium is full. Every time they play away is full. Something is happening. Something's going on. So other teams started taking notice. They're like, okay, what can we do? But of course, there's nothing in the world that could compare to Messi coming into your team. But they also figured out when Messi wasn't playing, the stadium's still full. Why? Oh, because they brought Busquets, because they brought Jordi Alba, because they brought Higuain, because they brought, Luis Suarez. So it's like, okay, it's not only Messi, it's the structure they build around him. So LAFC did the same thing. They have great players. They have Heung-min Song, they have Hugo Lloris. They recently brought some youngster also from other leagues, which is also another click that I saw happening the past 2-3 years that is going to continue developing, which is this is now becoming a stepping stone for South America to go into Europe. A lot of players will go straight from Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina
yes,
into Europe and fail and and not have a great career. A lot of them, will succeed and have amazing careers. But a lot of them were like, man, I'm not built for this because I never had a real league back in my third world country, including Venezuela. And I want to say this in the most nicest way. South America, with the exclusion of Argentina and Brazil, probably are third world countries in player development. That's a fact. A lot of the players that come from the other countries,
yeah,
and I exclude those two because they've been at it for years, decades, of course. But like Colombian players, Venezuelan players, Bolivian, Peru players that make it into Europe are the exception, are not the norm. Why? Because it takes a miracle for them to make it out there. Now you see it more and more. Why? Because these players are not staying in their countries, because they're going into the MLS, because they're going into smaller teams in Europe, because they understand I cannot make a jump from Liga Boliviana de football to the Premier League. It's just not going to happen. It's one in a million, and then that one in a million sometimes doesn't succeed. So let's take another path. And I think the MLS has been key for a lot of these players coming from South America and then going into the league. I think Inter Miami is developing this. on a larger scale than other teams as of right now. But other teams are taking notice of other routes, like Orlando City just announced Griezmann. San Jose announced Timo Werner, a Champions League winner.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, Timo Werner is
I
in,
didn't know that.
I
Timo
want to say
Werner.
San Jose. Yeah. Chucky Lozano is in San Diego. Like I mentioned, Heung-min Son, Lloris, Buanga, players in LAFC. So every team is now being like,
Right.
well, Vancouver has Thomas Müller, one of the top goal scorers in Champions League history. So it's like these teams are like, okay, let's do this. Like, let's put this money into the teams. Let's make it fun for everyone to come into the stadium. I think it has been a big click too, that the stadiums were kind of empty, even though they are very small stadiums, specifically made for soccer. A lot of people don't want to go to an empty stadium because, like we mentioned, that's part of the experience. Like if I go to the game and I want to have fun, I need people to be there having fun as well. And being loud and supporting the team. If not, it's just even better to watch it at home. So I
Yeah.
think the MLS is starting to understand this, and I think it's going to take 5 or 10 more years from now. But I do see it eventually becoming a top five league in the world.
Okay. Damn. That's pretty good. So you're saying they just got to keep the same trend, like building structures, not just buying like, awesome players.
I think I saw a post recently that Griezmann being announced brought Orlando City like 45 to 50,000 new followers. Just one player. Just keep in mind, Griezmann is a world champion and a world runner up in 2 World Cups in a row. Like you gotta keep this in mind. Like La Liga winner multiple times, Atletico Madrid top goal scorer probably, and I want to say if not, he's top 2 or 3. Like we're talking about a superstar, right? And if every team is doing it, it brings more attention to the leagues because
Yeah.
you see it a lot. It's like, oh, uh, excuse me, Minnesota is playing Vancouver. No, you see, Thomas Mueller is playing James Rodriguez. Like this is the headline, which is awesome. But I do feel like the structure of creating these players from the bottom and selling them to top leagues is now more renowned. It's happening more and more within the teams. So I feel like this will be the right way to do it, and that's what's happening. The last team that was a champion was Inter Miami, and there's I want to say 3 to 4 players now in Europe from that team, and it's only the young people. It's Federico Redondo, the son of Fernando Redondo. He's now playing in Italy, or no, he's now playing in Elche in Spain.
In
We
Spain.
have
Yeah.
Paraguayan. I want to say his name. I don't want to butcher his name, but he's playing for Brighton in the Premier League. Amazing player. You have Bernardet, not Bernardeschi. Another Argentinian Italian last name. I don't want to again. I don't want to mention his name wrong, but he was playing for Inter Miami. He's like 20 years old. He's now playing in Parma. So it's like you see all these players playing in these leagues and then going into Europe, which is amazing for the league because they not only bring, American fans into the European clubs, because, people that were watching Redondo in Inter Miami, oh, let's see how this player is doing in Elche. Maybe not so good, but, he's playing out there and you're getting a lot of new fans into
Yeah.
the team. And then the other way around too. They're like, oh, let's see where this player came from. Oh, he played in Inter Miami with Messi. Oh, that's cool. Oh, he played in Orlando with Griezmann. Oh, that's pretty nice. Like you get this whole structure of money coming into the league and money leaving the league while buying the stars that are going to keep bringing more attention to the club and the league.
MLS is
Correct.
now part of the worldwide ecosystem, where before it was like you said, South America to Europe, and that's it, and back and forth. But now it's like they're part of the ecosystem, so
Correct. Yeah.
it feels like a little more worldwide. So I think a lot of people see MLS as legit. Like I was watching, I think it was like a documentary or something, like when Beckham started playing at the MLS, like
Yeah, it's
his
true.
teammates were like dentists. They had like jobs, like, 9 to 5s, which is hilarious. But yeah, I think I don't know if they're gonna add commercials to like each half.
No, they can't. They can't.
All right,
No,
no,
what
that's
they
gonna
did
kill it.
is pretty
Yeah,
awesome
that would
too.
kill it.
This was recently announced.
Yeah.
They are now finally joining after many years of the league being open. They're joining FIFA's schedule. So what happened a lot with MLS is that they would get FIFA breaks and lose a lot of their players because they were in FIFA break, so they were in international duties. This year's gonna stay the same, but starting next year, MLS is gonna follow FIFA scheduling. So every time Europe is in break for FIFA international duties, MLS will be too, and everything's gonna be at the same time. I think that also killed it a lot for the league, because players were like, I mean, I gotta bounce. They're calling me from my home country, which wasn't really a lot, but let's say this Messi, Higuain, Suarez, Jordi Alba, Busquets, they were all called up. Seven out of the starting 11 from Inter Miami. Next game, Inter Miami was gonna get whooped. Like it's just a fact because all their players are in international duty.
Yeah.
So I feel like that also made the decision harder for a lot of the players to come into the MLS because they were like, I want to get called up. If I'm in my league and then my team doesn't want to let me go,
Yeah.
they're obligated to let them go. But we know how that works. Like teams are like, take care, don't go too crazy. We're still in the middle of the league. So yeah, I feel like
You're
this is
right.
gonna be a huge advantage for the league too.
That's awesome, man. And just kind of just we're close to wrapping this up, but where do you see Garcia TV like in the next couple years? Like, what is some of the stuff that you want to do?
I'm trying to enjoy the moment where I'm at right now. Like what we're developing, what we're creating. We're looking more into like, the foundation of the project, more that looking into the roof and how it's going to look eventually. So I want to say that our next steps are just continuing what we're doing right now and focusing on creating, cool relationships, not only with the athletes, but also with brands and people that, support what we do. We are close to bringing some people, new people into the team. I believe in just diversity in general and having different points of view. So yeah, we are developing some ideas that will help us have other opinions and other takes on experiences around the world. So yeah, I want to say that we're focusing on that first before, thinking 5, 10 years ahead. But for sure, that goal with everyone that's joining the team and with me and my wife, which we are kind of like the foundation of Garcia TV, we're like, bro, let's just focus on what our purpose is, which is, talking about athletes, Hispanic athletes, and bringing a spotlight to a lot of these players that are not being spoken about, and yeah, create connections with brands and create connections with athletes that at some point we can look back and say like, look, all these people trusted us, all these people understand what we do, and they're part of this project. Let's make it bigger. Like let's go into something else.
Perfect. And one last question. Where do you think content creating is gonna go in general as a field, as a job for someone who's like starting to be like, hey, I want to get into content creation? Like, what do you think that's gonna be in the next couple of years?
Honestly, I don't see it changing a lot. What I do see changing a lot is people being more involved and brands being more involved. You see it now. It's like, bro, we don't want to see your pizza. We want to see who makes the pizza. We want to see who serves the pizza. We want to see who brings the ingredients, who buys the ingredients. It's not really about the brand itself. It's about the human. And I also feel like it's gonna remain that way, and it's gonna emphasize into that a lot more, just because AI is taking over, the regular role of creating a beautiful image of a product. Is like, well, okay, but they can do that, but they cannot speak for us. Like they cannot connect with people. They cannot live for us. Yeah, no, and they won't.
Yet one
Maybe,
day
maybe
they're
that's
gonna
true.
come for us when
But
we're sleeping.
in the content creation world, I feel like even though they feel emotions and they're now like creating this newer AI things, that's great. But there's no AI that can live in Calicanto like I did when I was 4 years old. And they cannot hit their knee and remember that that hurts whenever you fall. They cannot hit a ball into the post of a Coca-Cola goal that we won with the chapitas of the Coca-Cola. Like there's just so many things, bro, like that AI cannot replace. And I feel like it's just a connection to people that is gonna prevail in social media, same way it's doing now.
Right, right, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely a message I will tell to people. Whether you're an influencer, you have your own business, like whatever you do, I think we gotta bet on experiences. Uh, human side, organic stuff, like the level of polishedness that's gonna be in content is gonna be insane. And that's just gonna be noise. So we have to focus on, if you, especially if you want to stand out in whatever you're doing, like the listener, they definitely gotta bet on, experiential stuff. Like, what I really like is the meta glasses. Like, that stuff is cool. I feel like a lot of that content goes is going viral, right? Because it's very experiential. Um, so I think if we just focus on that, I think whoever does that is gonna see the fruits of it in the long run.
I agree. And like I said, that being meta glasses content being so popular now also refers to people just want to see people do stuff, like there's this guy that posts Subway videos. He's like making subs all day. I don't think he does that anymore, but for some point, he was creating 2 or 3 pieces of content every day of him making Subway sandwiches. He was viral because he was like,
Oh, like,
nah, bro, like
I thought it was like the
Subway
subway, the
sandwiches. Like
train.
he was working in the
No, like
in the
sandwiches.
in the shop making people's
Genius.
sandwiches. And a lot of people will request, oh, make me my favorite sandwich or add this to that or mix this with that. And it went viral. And again,
That's
that's
so
just people
funny.
wanting to be not only connected, but also being paid attention of. A lot of the content that is being made is like, what do you want to see?
Whoa.
Like, what do you want to see me do? What, and then people not only connect to what
Right.
you're doing, but they connect with you're doing something that your fan or your follower told you and wanted to do, and you're living it for them or with them. Let me just make it a little bit better, like, bro,
Yeah.
okay, what's your dream? Coming to the Bernabeu when I did that in November, you cannot even think of how many people told me, bro, that's my dream too. I'm so happy you accomplished it. It's so incredible that, oh, you were one of the people that told me that. And then a lot of people were like, bro, that's incredible. How do I do it? How much did it cost? And I feel like that's kind of like also a turn that I'm taking right now. It's like I'm traveling at the beginning of next month, and it's like, okay, I want to also show people how they can make it, how they can um accomplish these dreams that they have. So a lot of exciting games and experiences coming up at Garcia TV. So yeah, people have to stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Make sure to check out his tour in Europe.
Yes.
He's gonna watch some really good games. I'll just leave it at that. But and I'm very jealous. So the marketing is already working.
I'm gonna be there for, yes, 4 games, but it's for I guess 8 different teams. So I'm gonna be there for 2 legs, but all teams are gonna be different on 4 games. So I'm not repeating Champions League teams. That's kind of like the idea too. I'm gonna get to see 4 different stadiums in Champions League live, so it's like incredible.
You're gonna get to see the Bernabeu with the rooftop. That's I want to know how that's like. That's gonna be a good video, because you hear that, like, when they close the stage, when they close the roof, it's like you can't even hear yourself. Yeah,
Super loud. I actually it was close when I went in November, and it was a La Liga game against Valencia, which are usually very complicated. We won 4-1, and
yeah.
it was an amazing experience. And yeah, definitely it feels louder than a lot of the stadiums that I've been to, just because it's closed, like sound is not going out. So it was very fun. But just yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also visiting the second best stadium in my opinion in Spain. So that's gonna be fun for Champions League. And yeah, it's just crazy, bro. We're gonna
Right.
be all over there.
Do you think that stadium is better than El Calderon? Like the old Calderon?
Well, yeah, for sure, bro. And I would argue that if I wasn't a fan of Real Madrid, that stadium is probably the best in Spain. After all the remodeling that they're doing, and I'm just gonna say it at Camp Nou, they're gonna fit 105,000 people. That's gonna be the largest stadium in Europe. For me, even though I'm a Real Madrid fan, I'm a soccer fan, and just the fact that I'm going that day and I'm gonna
Yeah.
experience a Barcelona against Atletico de Madrid in Champions League, it's just incredible, honestly.
Well, before I wrap it up, anything you want to share with us, or you think we got it?
No, honestly, just stay blessed, stay tuned. I'm getting myself more involved into God recently, so um, look into that. I don't want to force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. I don't know why my CD decided to start playing some music, but
Your
yeah, exactly. She
your
started playing
CD is
some
into
gospel,
God.
but no, yeah, go into that and figure it out yourself. I don't want to tell anyone what to do and how to do it. It's very recent for me, and I found a lot of um good into it,
Right.
and hopefully you guys can too. So yeah, stay tuned with the content. Make sure to drop comments in my account if you see this interview, and if you see my videos, be like, bro, I want to see more of this. And we are also like catering to a lot of what people want to see, and adding them to the experiences that we already have planned for the rest of the year. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this conversation as much as I did with Chris, and hopefully you guys enjoy the next ones coming up, because I know you have a lot of big things planned too.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, thank you. And since you brought up that you've been looking into, spirituality, the Lord Jesus. I know it's still very early, and like you said, like forcing is never good. It's never the right way. But what is some of the things that, like, on the surface that you've maybe seen that you were like, huh, I never thought about it that way.
Bro, honestly, the way I'm taking it, I've always been connected to God into a more personal way. Like I would only think about God myself. Like I would never go to church or anything like that. And I'm not doing that yet. But what I found that was very fulfilling for me, and more like eye opening, if I want to say it that way, is that I'm grabbing my Bible that I have very close to me at recent times, and I don't open it and I don't read it in order. I just go through the pages like this, and I point at a part of the page and I read it, and then I just highlight it just to tell myself that I already read it. But if I fall on it again and I point to it, I read it again, and I'm like, yeah, if it feels the same way when I read it the first time, or sometimes I've read it again and I'm like, well, it feels different now that I've read a lot of them. Uh, you know, so yeah, I feel like that's the way that has been helpful for me.
Yeah.
I am not one to be able to just sit and focus on something for a long period of time. So this has already been a huge sacrifice, this interview, and sometimes you see me like looking around because I'm like losing myself, but it's just hard to for me to just sit and do one thing for hours. And the Bible has a lot of words and a lot of pages, so the way I connected with it is like, bro, I just one day at a time, I sit at my desk and I go over one of the verses and I read it a couple of times if I need to understand what I'm looking at. And then I even go to the extent of googling it, some of the things that I feel like I don't understand completely.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean that's what worked for me. I don't want to like I said, force anything into anyone, but that has really been helpful. I want to say that it has helped me understand a lot of the situation that I might be going through in my day, and not even looking it into like a bigger picture, like, oh,
Yep.
this happened to me a month ago. I was like, no, like a lot of these things happen to me day to day, and it's the interpretation you give it. Like it could be a negative
Right.
connotation if you want to give it that, and you could like feel like, oh yeah, this happened to me, and poor me, and this and that. But then you could be like, oh yeah, this happened to me, and this is the reason why. And God's plan is bigger. So if I just focus myself on what and something that came around and wasn't really to my liking, it could be because something worse was coming later, and then this really helped me not be there. So that's also a
Right.
thing of perspective. I think it's just the way you want to see how your life is going with or without God. I think just being positive in general helps a lot. Like trying to stay. Not everything happens, and I believe
Yeah.
not everything happens on purpose to you. I think it just happens, and then if you take it for yourself, and it's a decision, and it's part of your life, and then everything does happen for a reason. It's like, okay, this happened to me, and maybe you don't see it now, maybe you won't see it the next year, but then in 2 years you'll be like, oh, I remember when I was there, and I wasn't really paying attention to it. Now I'm grateful that I'm here where I'm at now.
Yeah, and definitely the Bible, for us Christians is the word of God, and there's a lot of There's a lot of blessing in it, of course. And something that helped me, because before, I've always had a Bible in my house, but I was never really into like religion or anything for most of my life. And what really helped me understand was the context of the Bible. Like, so you might read like a really good thing on the Bible,
Right.
but then you're not reading it in context, right? And the context is what makes it come alive. So it's a historical book, right? So a lot of people just kind of, they have history, and then they're like, oh, the Bible's something else. Like, if you actually get into the Bible, for the person watching, it's super historical. Matter of fact, we base all of our history on it, because all the historical like points, like checkpoints in the Bible, have been proven. So we go based on that, and literally, and then we have more evidence for that than any other.
Yes.
Like, we have more evidence for
Thank you.
Jesus than Julius Caesar,
It's
and
true.
and nobody doubts Julius Caesar. But like, for the non-believer, like, it's always like a struggle with Jesus. But
There's a big saying, at least in South American countries, like, oh, ver para creer, right? Like, you gotta see to believe. Man, a lot of people believe most of the stuff they haven't seen. So it's crazy to me, but we'll see.
we believe in the wind, and you don't see the wind, and nobody questions the wind, right? Like, we don't understand it. We can't know where it comes from. Like, we don't know when it decides to go east or west. Same thing is with the Spirit of God. But yeah, definitely, I'm
For
really
sure.
happy you're going into that. Just don't stop looking into it at your own pace. Like, look up the context, like, to see kind of what you're reading, like why it's being written. You'll find a lot of blessing. But brother, thank you for taking time. I know this is very different from a stadium. It's a lot more calm.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm actually very glad that we did this. And yeah, maybe if people like this video enough and comment enough, I'll come back if people want to see me again. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe people want to see you in other podcasts too. Maybe this clips will show
Maybe.
people that,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I could
I'm
interview
down.
this guy. Like, it's actually a possibility. All right, brother. Have a good night, and thank you for everything, brother. God bless you.
All righty. Thank you so much for everything, man. Thank you for having me. God bless you.